and said we don't know. Basically what we're doing in here tonight is you can take that, you can try to break it down, but at the end of the day, we just coming to believe. That makes sense? You got to come to believe that this power is greater than you. And I'm trying to tell you, it's real hard in the Western society because most of the power we talking about exists outside of us. We were taught that from little bitty kids. From little children, we were taught that the power existed outside of us. Am I right or wrong? If you get a good job, that's a power greater than you. You get an education, that's a power greater than you. That's what I was taught. I don't know. Like, people look at me like maybe I'm wrong. If you get married and have kids, that's a power greater than you. We had all this outside stuff. Nobody never, if they did, I didn't catch it, told me that I had the power in me, that I could create my own destiny, that there is a power that controls the entire universe and everything I just named that's in me and was given to me before I was even me. Nobody taught me that. So quite naturally, I wasn't going to tap into it. Not yet. That makes sense? Can't tap into what you don't know you got to tap into. You have to come to believe this stuff. I was operating on pure self-sufficiency. Running my world, being my God. That's what I was. I don't know about y'all. That's what I was. Go ahead.
When we became alcoholics, crushed by a self-imposed crisis, we could not postpone or evade it. We had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What was our choice to be?
All right, now remember we talked about this last week. That's a real position. That's a real point. You have to, I had to come to a point where I had to, and lately, my life situation has been getting me closer and closer to a better definition of that point. That makes sense? But God's going to have to be everything or it's going to be nothing. I done tried everything else. Now it's only going to have to be God for me. That make any sense? But I'm going to explain it a little later. I'm not going to do it right now. But this is a real position that each in its own time. Everybody ever seen the movie The Green Mile? Ain't that the one? Yeah, right. When they're on death row? Yeah. And they walk down a long corridor to be executed. I like the theory of the point that each in its own time. Every last one of us going to get to a point in life that we're going to have to make that decision. You're going to turn it over, or you're going to still keep living the same way. That makes sense? Going to do it. All right, go to the next one.
Arrived at this point, we were squarely confronted with the question of faith. We could not duck the issue. Some of us had already walked far over the bridge of reason towards the desired shore of faith. The outlines and the promise of the new land had brought luster to tired eyes and fresh courage to flagging spirits. Friendly hands had stretched out in welcome. We were grateful that reason had brought us so far, but somehow we couldn't quite step ashore. Perhaps we had been leaning too heavily on reason, that last mile, and we did not like to lose our support.
All right, remember we talked about this last week. I'm going to just briefly go over this because it's in the last week's CD. When I explained like the ocean, you know, like if you got reasoning, that's my ability to control everything. My human effort, my brain, my mind, my senses and all that. And see, when you're at the ocean, all that come into play. Your senses, your touch, your taste, it's salty. You know what I'm trying to say? Your fear, your emotions, your reasoning, if you're a little kid or something, you know, it didn't make no difference when you're a kid or grown, and you say, I'm going to walk as far as I can out there in the ocean. I did this last week. And then I'm going to swim and go. You're going to crawl, you're going to have to take in both of them worlds. That makes sense? You're going to take in the reasoning world, the logical world, then you're going to have to step over and get into faith. So what happens is, I'm on the ocean, and you know, I'm in the water, and I'm walking, water right here. All my reasoning is cool. I'm still thinking about going out there and float, you know, and swim. I get the water about right here, I'm still okay. But it went up a little bit, but I'm all right. The power greater than me, you know what I'm saying? Got it right here, I got this. Then all of a sudden, feet don't touch the bottom. I still got a little bit of current, I got a little bit farther. Then you look down, the water done turn dark. That's when it's deep. You know when over there it's light. When you see nothing but darkness, it's deep. Do you operate, you know what I'm talking about, right? You operate in faith and keep on going? Or you jump back in reason and put your foot on the ground where you got control? Most of us come back. Me and my wife was in a kayak. Ain't that the name of them little boat? This is the true story. We was in Bahamas or Jamaica, one of the two. We both in there. We were next to an ocean liner like this. Carnival. We were on there, and the water was, and she kind of fearful of water anyway. It was about light. All of a sudden, I'm saying, don't be scared, don't be scared. When we went out a little farther, all of a sudden the water turned dark. She started screaming. I had a camera, it went overboard. She was screaming, she was paranoid. And I'm like, be cool, but I saw the darkness too. My heart was beating. And we, some kind of way, paddled. And you know what? We was on the side of that ocean liner. And looked up, oh my God. And we came on back. So, there is I'm trying to make an example of where reasoning works, and then you cross over to faith. That makes sense? But most of us are going to pull back. But in our program, we can't go back no more because you know where we coming from.
That's right. That's right.
Can't go back. You ain't got no choice but to keep going forward. You don't want to pull back? All right. Let's keep going.
That was natural, but let us think a little more closely. Without knowing it, have we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith? For did we not believe in our own reasoning? Did we not have confidence in our own ability to think? What was that but a sort of faith? Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time.
You know, I was talking about how reasoning did bring me to recovery in a way. I knew that I was rock bottom. I kind of reasoned I was homeless. 10 years, you know. I did know that I had went to college, you know what I'm trying to say? I did know I was an Army officer. So I had a lot of stuff to kind of think about that make me say, you know, I don't want to live like this no more. So that all of us did that. Reasoning did play a part in us getting up to this point, you know? Even if you're coming from another treatment center or something like that, and you come into our treatment center, you still had to use some kind of reasoning to say, let me leave this one to go over there. So reasoning will get you to a certain point. But you can't reason, I can honestly tell you can't reason yourself into working them steps. See, when you work the 12 steps, you're going to get something that you probably never seen before in each step. And somebody really can't explain that to you. You got to do the work to receive it. I can't tell you about your own low self-esteem. You got to do the work to see it. I can't tell you, when I tell you other people dominated your thinking, you worried about what you thought other people were thinking about. I can explain it to you, but you do the work, you will see it yourself.
That's right.
That's crossing over. All right. So reasoning was so good, and it worked so well for us, it became our higher power, our God. So we will abjectly or surrender to the reason of God of reason, our ability to think. You know, I had a friend not too long ago who was in treatment. He told me, in which I had to allow him to be. At least he was a man about it. He said, I don't need treatment. I'm okay. I got sick, mud clean. All I need is a better job. The God of reason.
Right.
I said, well, what you do the last 20 jobs you had? You 50 years old. I worked until I got high. And I lost my job. I said, you are going to allow the God of reason to get you up out of here so you can repeat the same process. He said, I got this. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it. We'll see you. All right, the next one.
We found, too, that we had been worshipers. What a state of mental gooseflesh that used to bring on. Had we not variously worshiped people, sediment, things, money, and ourselves? And then, with a better motive, had we not worshipfully beheld the sunset, the sea, or a flower? Who of us had not loved something or somebody? How much did these feelings, these loves, these worships have to do with pure reason? Little or nothing. We saw at last. Were not these things the tissue out of which our lives were constructed? Did not these feelings, after all, determine the course of our existence? It was impossible to say we had no capacity for faith or love or worship. In one form or another, we had been living by faith and little else.
You know, I'm grateful we got to this. That's why I was kind of like, I'm sweating, because I need to be here. This is for me. I need to be right where I'm at tonight, at this moment, to embrace and enjoy this moment. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't have to live in the past. I don't have to think about the future. I'm in the moment. This is my moment. Last week, we had a question about the point about how much did these feelings, these love, these worship have to do with pure reason, little or nothing. I tried my best to answer, but I can honestly tell you the reason I can do this is because I became a messenger of this. You know, I'll have like two groups, and I'll do one group over here. Somebody asks a question or ask a question, and I couldn't really grasp it. I would study that question all week long and ask God and the Holy Spirit to reveal it to me. The God of the 12 steps. I even talked to Bill and Bob if I had to get it. I get it. Then I would take it over to that group and share it with them. By the time I got back to this group, I got it. Or got the best to my ability. That makes sense? So I was puzzled and quite, and I did some phone calls, right, Ron? I'm going to tell you about me tonight. All right? It says, we found, too, that we have been worshipers. You know, the ability to love is to worship. All right? And we did a good job about that, about how my mother and the prayer group would worship. You know what I'm trying to say? And I'll be saying, ah, hush. And then I go out, and a little 13-year-old boy tell me what to do. And I sit there, you know what I'm trying to say, wait 2 hours for him to come back with some crack or something, $8. That make me a worshiper. I'm a worshiper. I loved it so much that I let a kid tell my grown butt, sit down. Come back, give me a nickel bag. Now, I thought it was $8. But I was in love with it, so I obeyed it. I obeyed it. I appreciated him doing that for me. You know? So had we not variously worshiped people, sentiment, things, money, and ourselves, You can go to any category like that. If you love yourself so much, or you love money so much, you loved it so much that you worshipped it. It was just appreciation, a love, a compassion for it. You know what I'm saying? Acceptance, attraction to it. That's okay. All right. It said that, and then with a better motive, had we not worshipfully beheld the sunset, the sea, or flower. That same kind of compassion, that same kind of closeness, that same kind of appreciation, the emotional attachment to it. Sometimes I could walk by and see a flower and feel that same thing. All right? So most of my worship and my love was toward negative stuff. You go back and count them other 8 things that we went over earlier, I was in love with that.
Yeah.
Anything that was bad, anything that was miserable, I was attracted to it. How much did these feelings, these loves, these worships have to do with pure reason? Little or nothing. Let me break something down. I started studying, like I'm in a Bible study, and it's all men. And we go every Monday night. I've been in it, it's been quite a while now. And we study one book a year. So this whole year, it's a lot of questions, like 40 questions on each chapter. We do like 1 or 2 chapters a week. And each person gets an opportunity to write down their answer, and then we break off into little groups, like 10, 15 guys in a group, and everybody share, you know, openly on the question, kind of like we do in the open discussion, but it'd be Bible stuff, right? And since we started Genesis, I noticed something, because we do it so slow, you know. I noticed something, like Abraham, and Sarah, then they had Ishmael, and Isaac, and then there was Jacob, and what's the brother name? Esau. It just kept going. But I got to know each one personally because it's slow. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at these people. I can honestly tell you, they all had the same problem we do. Every last one of them. They're deceitful, mess around. They're humans. Characters, human beings, just like everybody in this room here. There's no difference. You can forget them, and you can write about us tonight. It's us. Every last one of them, humans' problems. You hear me, Ken? Only their senses and their logic only took them so far. The same thing. It only goes so far. Then they have to turn over to a power greater than themselves, and they rise up. Every last one. No different than me. No different than me. I used to pride. I used to tell folks this. I say, you know what? Every job I ever had, I could start from the bottom. I just let me in the door. If it was McDonald's, just let me sweep the floor, and I work my way up to management. If I go on a construction site, just let me go in. I could work my way to the office. I used to pride myself on that. If can't hardly finish high school, but it's hair your chin, go to college and graduate. Go in the military as an enlisted man, come out an officer. Be homeless. Rock bottom. Nothing. Nothing worthwhile in life I own. I did not even own a dime. You know one of them little dimes? And didn't know where the next one was going to come from. Nothing. Nothing. All the way up on the business, all the way to Buckhead. I used to pride and tell folks I did a good job with my life. I did this, I did that. Till I read this. This broke it down for me. It said, how much did these feelings, these love, these worships, have to do with pure reason?